It's not unusual for horror films to take influence from what the masters of the genre have done before, taking those ideas and putting their own spin on them. Watching Hokum, one can see how much of a debt director Damian McCarthy owes to Stephen King. Halfway through, suspicion even begins to set in whether the film is based on a King story, but its own original idea conceived by McCarthy. With its alcoholic author and a hotel setting, it's difficult not to think of the horror author's stories, though. However, does Hokum work on its own? While there's some inspired moments and a few solid characters, a lot of the movie disappointingly relies on the expected horror movie tricks. Who attempts to carry a lot of the film is Adam Scott as sardonic writer Bauman. He does well in the role and making him into an unlikable jerk for the way he treats the hotel employees in Ireland. He has some particularly good interactions with David Wilmot as Jerry, a man he meets out in the forest. Jerry becomes the best character in the movie, who gets several of the strongest moments as he proves quite helpful. McCarthy provides some intrigue early on about where exactly the plot is heading and the mystery involving a missing woman that gets himself involved in. The Stephen King homages come early and often in Hokum, and not just because of Ohm's profession and drinking tendencies. There's an early scene that resembles the opening of Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining, and there are other nods to The Shining and 1408 throughout. Even structurally, the film owes a lot to King in the way he tells the stories and digs into his characters and the scary situations they find themselves in. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with using his work as the basis for this film's story, but McCarthy does not even try to hide how obvious it is. Beyond this clear influence, is there anything else holding the movie together? Unfortunately, Hokum relies a lot on cheap horror tricks like jump scares. While a few creative visuals appear here and there, the imagery does not resonate or creep out the way McCarthy likely intended. There's a particular portion of the movie with Ohm stuck in a situation in the hotel where the story especially meanders and comes across as repetitive. Although McCarthy does sometimes throw in something to spring the movie back to life, it only provides a momentary jolt. Even some of the reveals don't provide the shock that maybe they were expected to. Hokum is a promising idea. One can see the gears turning in Damian McCarthy's head as he was crafting the story. Even when spotting the influences, a few interesting ideas do come in, and the movie especially gives Adam Scott an opportunity to try to show the evolution of someone who's hardly a likable protagonist. He's also surrounded by capable Irish actors who fill this hotel and the surrounding areas. The techniques used when it goes full horror are just cheap haunted house tricks, and the film has a tendency to drag around the middle section. Hokum just ends up being a standard and rather unremarkable entry in the genre.